Hi guys, and welcome to episode 1, season 2 of the Everyone Active podcast. My name is Michelle Laurie. Those of you that have watched us before will know that I'm usually joined by Joe Hancock. Now, unfortunately, Joe can't be with us today. However, I am joined by a superstar, OBE, Olympic champion. Drum roll, please. It's Becky Adlington!
Aww,
welcome!
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. So today we're going to have a big chat about your career today, what you've been doing since you've had kids, your fitness journey, and more importantly about what you're doing now with your swimming and your BASS, Becky Adlington Swim Star School, and how you are connected with Everyone Active.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to have you here. First of all, I've watched you so much on TV, I can't even tell you. Going back to how you started in your career, obviously you started swimming at a really young age. When did you I know you've got two sisters that also were really into swimming.
Yeah.
How did you sort of suddenly get that swimming bug? Was it by going to just start having local lessons, or how did you get into it?
Honestly, it was just that.
Was it?
I think like growing up in a small town as well, like in the nicest possible way, there wasn't a huge amount to do. Like now that I've got kids, there is so many different activities that they can do, like everything, all sorts of different things. And I don't just mean sport, like there is everything accessible. And I sound so old when I say this, back in my day, but like back in my day, like that options weren't really there.
Yeah.
I literally had the option to go to like running, ballet, and then swimming. Like, so it was really limited. So I think we all just kind of naturally fell into swimming. It helped as well. We literally lived round the corner from the pool.
So you could walk to it. Amazing.
Literally round the corner. It probably took us all of 5 minutes to walk to the pool. And I think just being in that small town, we were so lucky. We had 2 swimming pools. And in a tiny small town, that was really rare.
Yeah, really unusual. Yeah.
So we had kind of 2 swimming pools at either end of the small town, and we just obviously lived around the corner. So it was one of those. My eldest sister's 5 years older than me as well, so she could properly swim as well by the time I got into it. And it just happened to be that we all loved it. I think it was kind of like, thank gosh for my mum and dad.
I know,
who were
imagine
like,
it.
God, they haven't got to go here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah,
Because we all went, it kind of became like a family thing. Like my mum and dad loved going down. They made a really great group of friends with all the other parents, as well as us all having our little friendship groups and kind of everything else. So it was just a council run normal pool. So it wasn't anything like that, but I just absolutely loved it. Like I've never had any fear for the water. I loved it from day dot. I wanted all my swimming, like all my birthday parties at the swimming pool. Did
you have like the swimming part, like the birthday parties within the swimming pool? Did you have
all of
amazing?
All of that. I was just like, I loved it probably more so than my other 2 sisters. My eldest sister did really enjoy it. But for me, I just loved being in water. Like literally on holidays, I'd be in the water from the minute we got up.
So you were all totally wrinkled by the end of the day. Nice.
Completely like that. So I absolutely loved it.
And so what age were you when you entered your first championship? How old were you then?
So I kind of joined a club when I was about 8 or 9, and then I kind of started doing like the local club competitions around like 9, 10, etc. And it wasn't really until I kind of probably got to more like 11, 12 that I started what I consider like properly
competitive sort of stuff.
Yeah, like I did stuff within the club, but like I think being from a small town, it wasn't really like, they were just smaller galas. They were smaller like club champs rather than anything that's kind of on, not a bigger scale, I'm not talking elite, but anything that was kind of like, oh, this is scary. Do you know what I mean? So I just absolutely loved it. So I started competing then. I moved to my coach, who then I stayed with throughout my whole career.
Bill Furness, is
Bill,
it?
yeah, when I was about 12. So that's when my training kind of started.
And is that a normal age to sort of like pick up with a swim coach if you're looking to sort of do it professionally, or was that quite unusual?
No, quite unusual.
Was it?
Really, really rare. Most of the time you join a club and you kind of stay there until kind of GCSE A-level sort of year. And then when you move into like senior swimming, that's when a lot of people tend to find their coach, because a lot of the time you swim at a club, and this sounds a bit like bad, but it's not. It's just there is no academy academy. There's no talent ID program.
Yeah.
There's nobody scouting for professional swimmers. Like, it kind of doesn't really work like that. So you only swim at that club, essentially, because it's local to you, because it's easy for your parents. You've not chosen that coach because they're amazing. Whereas my mum and dad chose Bill because we didn't really have the club set up around us. So we had to travel 45 minutes to the pool.
Did you?
So that's just kind of how it's set up. Whereas a lot of people, they go to uni or they go to like a performance centre once you get into senior swimming, and then that's when they go with their coach. I think there's myself, there's Adam Peaty, there's Hannah Miley. There is a few swimmers that have stayed with like one coach since early teens, but more often than not, you change coach.
You change as you go through your career.
Yeah.
And when did you decide, what age were you when you thought, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to make my career in? Did you kind of have a little eureka moment, or did it just kind of happen for you?
It just happened.
Did it?
Like, honestly, I never thought I would do anything until I got the Olympic medals.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was like, I loved it growing up, but I don't think you think about that when you're 13, 14, 15.
Because you were just there for the passion of it kind of thing.
Yeah, and also like your GCSEs and your mates at school, like you're not really thinking long term at that age. You don't think about your career at 13, 14 years of age. You're just doing something because it's your hobby and you love doing it. And I got ill when I was probably like 15.
Yes, you were really poorly, weren't you?
Yeah, so I got glandular fever and post-viral fatigue, and at the same time my sister had encephalitis, which is a brain virus. So swimming kind of just became like, something that was just a bit of a distraction. It just became like, go and have fun with your mates. It kind of wasn't as intense because I couldn't race, I couldn't compete during that time. So I never really thought anything of it, and I kind of took a back step off from school just so we could all get healthy. So I kind of didn't go on to college and A-levels like all my other friends were doing, just because it was like, my mum was like, look, you just need to get healthy. And you can go back to college. And then I was going to go back to college the year before Beijing Olympics. And my mum and dad, we kind of sat down and we went, look, you've only got this one chance to try and make the Olympic Games because you're not getting any younger. You've only got this shot. Why don't we keep you off school for another year, going back to college and see if you can make it? And we, leading into Beijing, I had my application to the college accepted. I knew what A-levels I was going to do.
Oh, wow.
Had everything laid out.
So you really weren't expecting to even qualify for those Olympics?
Nothing.
That's amazing.
And then after, I think, my second gold medal, I phoned my parents and I went, does this mean I don't have to go back to college? And they were like, yeah, you don't have to go back to college. I was like, thank you. Like, I wasn't academic, and my sisters are very academic.
Oh, right, okay.
They were like A stars at everything, teachers' pet, like everybody in the school loved them. And then it was like everyone got dead excited at the school that, we've got another Adlington.
Where they're like, are you Laura's sister? And you'd be like, oh, great.
Yeah, all the time.
You're Chloe, and Laura's the disappointment.
Sister. You'd be great. And then after literally 10 minutes in the class, they were like, oh no. And it was like, oh great. So I was always a letdown at school compared to my sisters, whereas in swimming, it was always me that was
You were the start, yeah.
So it was kind of nice. I had something, even though they carried on swimming, that I was like, okay, this is my thing, and that can be their thing. That's fine. So I was very grateful to not go back to college.
And talk me through how that moment was, because you didn't think you thought you'd won silver, didn't you, at the Beijing, and one of your races, you thought you'd won silver, and then to be told that you'd won gold and broken all sorts of records. How did that feel? And did it take ages to sort of like sink into you, or did you kind of have a feeling you were going to win, or?
Not at all. Like, honestly, not at all. So for the 400, which was my first race.
Was that your weaker race? Yeah.
It was kind of like one of those races I just hadn't had a massive amount of experience in.
Right.
Like all my junior competitions, I swam the 800 more than I did the 4.
Right.
So I just wasn't as confident. And they're totally, for people that don't know as well, the sport, they are completely different girls that race these events.
Are they?
Yeah. So like in Beijing, I think there was only 2 of us that had swam the 400 that were in that 800 final.
Really?
So you do get some, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And it is common that you mix between, but also as well, you do get your distance sorts of people, because there is quite a big difference. You tend to find like middle distance swimmers will swim the 200 and 400, and then the distance swim 800, 1500. Whereas I was this combo of 4 and 8. It was
so you're a bit of a weird combination.
That was a really weird combination, exactly that. So for me, it was just I wasn't as confident. So I all my target was to make the final. So
wow.
I think for me, I didn't have anything to lose in that final. I was next to my best mate, Joe. So Joe is still my best friend today.
Really?
That. So it was really nice having each other next door. It was like safety net, because we were actually in the next lane as well. It wasn't like she was in lane 1 and I was in lane 7. We were next to each other. So it was just really nice to have that moment.
And do you get
together.
what sort of mindset do you get yourself into before you're starting a race? So as you're in the water, you're sort of standing there waiting to get into the water. What's going through your mind?
Nerves.
Really?
Pure nerves.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I was a very nervous racer.
Were you?
Really nervous. Like, even 3 weeks before I would start to feel sick, just out of sheer nerves. Like, that morning, I'd never be able to eat, so I just survived.
Like, you're going to throw up all the time.
The only thing I could digest was those like gels. Have you seen those sport gels? That's the only thing I could manage to get down me, because I couldn't eat. I literally couldn't sleep. I was just so nervous, just sick with nerves. So it was just horrendous. So I was a very nervous racer. For me, my coach always said to me, just remember 3 things. And they were all technical stuff, like really like boring stuff to anyone else. But he just said that would calm me. And it was just, if I tried to remember more than 3 things, you forget them.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like when you play that alphabet game with the kids and you forget everything. So he just said 3 things. You don't get confused. You know your 3 things, just focus on them. So they're all things like my stroke length or my turns or my high elbow. They're all like really swimming technical bits, but I just kept repeating those 3 things. I didn't listen to music. I'm not one of those people that
Did you not? Right, okay, so you didn't get into the zone with that kind of thing.
No, if I did that, I'd be like singing along to One Direction or something and just totally not focus. I'd just start singing and dancing and be like, no, concentrate. So no, I never liked listening to music. For me, it was always just concentrating on the 3 things, like trying to just be nice and chatty. Like, I was really lucky that Joe was quite chatty as well. So me and Joe used to have a bit of a chat.
Nice.
So it relaxed us, because we weren't like the men in the call room. So we go into a call room where basically it's just you and your competitors before you race. So you have
what's the atmosphere like in there?
Horrendous. It's horrendous. So you just go into this one room. It's the size of this room, so it's not a big room, and it's just you and your competitors. So 7 other people.
Goodness.
There's no coaches, no staff, no nothing.
Wow.
There's the officials that are working the event, but there's nobody else in there but your competitors. There tends to be the race before or the race after. So and because the men, it always goes male, female, male, female.
Understand, yeah.
So it's always the men, and the men are like slapping. They're like slapping themselves, like all macho, staring at each other out. Like, it's really intense. The guys are like all macho, like smacking their pecs, like I'm the best.
Wow.
And then the girls are like, "Are you okay?
Yeah, looks nice under the cap."
Well, like your nails. It's very different. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the time, language is a huge barrier.
Yeah.
I don't speak any other language. A lot of the other girls, if they don't speak English, so you're not.
There is always that barrier anyway, isn't there, I suppose?
100%. Like, we are really close to like the Australian team, etc., because of language.
The language, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas a lot of the other countries, you just kind of, you say good luck and you say well done, and everyone can kind of understand what you're doing there, like well done or whatever. But otherwise, you really struggle with the language. But yeah, it's one of those that for me, as soon as I dived in the pool, the nerves went away.
Really?
100%. So every time I dived in, the nerves went away. And I kind of was like, okay, I'm at home. I'm
because
familiar.
you're in your safe place, aren't you? Almost, you know what you're capable of.
Exactly that. I'm just putting my hat on and goggles on and going for a swim. I know how to do that. That's fine. Whereas beforehand, I didn't like the crowd. I kind of felt I was more nervous about the anticipation of everything. Like, I'm not one of those that. I'm not an Adam Peaty. Adam Peaty comes out. He loves the crowd. Yep. He really embraces that crowd. I never even looked up. Like, it wasn't my comfort zone. Like, a lot of the athletes really love like that. They're like a Usain Bolt. Huge personalities that love to soak up that. I hated it. I was the complete opposite. I was just like, just walked on poolside and I was like, oh my God, the camera's in my face. Oh my God, like, don't look at the camera. Like, I was just like, oh my God, they're all cheering. And it just, I just
quite overwhelming almost, is it?
Really overwhelming for me. I don't really like a lot of people looking at me in general. I feel just really self-conscious and you're like, oh God. And it's just like what you're looking at and you just want to like curl and hide. So I didn't like that beginning bit. But then once I was in the water, I was fine. Like, I couldn't see anybody else. So I was just in the water, in my zone, doing the thing that I was confident at. So it was fine. And it was the last 50 metres. So I was coming pretty much last in the 400. And then I kind of slowly started to like wind it up, and the other girls had gone out quite hard in that race. I was just like being more suited to distance swimming. I didn't speed off, yeah. So I'd like slowly clawed back, and there was an American girl, and all I could see was her feet. So I kind of just assumed she's won. I said in my head, she's got the gold. Like all I could see is her feet. What I couldn't see was anyone the other side of her.
Right, okay.
Because she was like in the middle lane. So I was like, I don't really know what's happening that side of the pool. So I couldn't really gauge where I was even coming anyway, because I knew she was ahead of me, but then I couldn't really see anyone else.
It's very different, isn't it, swimming in that kind of sense of a sport?
Yeah.
If you're a runner, a sprinter, you can see where your competitors are, can't you? But obviously you can't.
No, so you just have no really idea.
Wow.
And I could kind of see that this side of me, and obviously and I was like, okay, I was like, come on, because me and Joe was literally neck and neck, and I was like, somebody could get a medal here. It doesn't matter if it's bronze. I was like, come on. And like, so put my head down. And then it was obviously coming into the wall. And I still was convinced that this American girl had won.
Really?
Like, I was like, there's just no chance at all. Because I just put my head down as well. So I couldn't even gauge what body part. Like I could see her feet earlier.
Just see a limb of some kind of description.
I could just see splash and whatever. So I couldn't even see that I had really caught her up. So it wasn't until I turned around and the stupid thing that in Beijing, at all the Olympics, they put the scoreboard the furthest point away from the finish line, so you can't ever see it.
Oh, really?
It was all the way down the bottom, and the number, it kind of showed up as your name, and then it was like a gap, and then all the numbers were down the side.
Right, okay.
So do you know, like when you're on like a Word document and you're like looking for
looking
the
across,
line,
yeah.
like looking to see, is that like my line?
You need to freeze the panes, don't you, as you go across?
Yeah, and I'm like, I wanted to do that because I was like, the one, is that next to my name? I was like, what? And then obviously saw that Joe got the bronze, which was just unbelievable. And I think we both just turned around to each other and was like, what just happened? Like, we both just for days just kept going, what just happened? Like we were both so overwhelmed because like we never expected it. It was just not what was predicted at all. Like nobody could have called that race like at all. So it was just so different. And then the most bizarre thing is you take your medal off, because I had another race, you take your medal off, put it in a drawer and forget it happened, because obviously you're preparing.
You've got to refocus, haven't you?
Yeah, so you always think, I'm going to have some mad celebration when you win an Olympic medal. I always said to, like growing up, I was like, God, if I ever won an Olympic medal, God, I'd run around the pool naked, or like, you think you're going to do this like dramatic thing that's like, oh my God, because it's never going to happen. I always thought it was like winning lottery. It just doesn't happen. It certainly doesn't happen to a girl from Mansfield. So I was just like, I never even expected it. And then when you do win one and all you do is take it off and put it in a drawer. You're like, God, it's a bit anticlimactic, isn't it?
Oh, no. And did you get to see Beijing much when you were there? Or is it just like in the Olympic Village and that's it? Or
No, but to be fair, the British swimming team kind of identifies that is the case when you go to any Olympics. So we actually went there. We were racing in Melbourne the year before. Right. So we actually stopped off in Beijing on the way back from Melbourne the previous year to go and do the Great Wall of China, to kind of see it all, etc., and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, you know, the reason why you're there. You get very used to, as an athlete, just going and just seeing a pool and a hotel.
So literally you could almost be in a pool anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and you're so used to that. Like, honestly, you just get used to only seeing the pool and the hotel. So it's never like, you don't sit there going, oh, I wish I could go out and about, because you're so used to it. You don't even consider it. You know, you've got a purpose for being there. So you don't even contemplate anything else.
Wow. And then going on 4 years, obviously, just a little thing of the 2012 Olympics. How was it in that atmosphere? Because that roof must have absolutely been lifting off when you were walking out onto poolside.
Do you know what? It was weird the way they designed the pool, because actually, because of that wave, you couldn't, if you were in that stand, you couldn't actually see that stand because the wave dipped down. So it's kind of, but I could totally see why they did that design, because it made it really loud.
Was it
like
booming?
The acoustics of it just made it like insanely loud.
Wow.
So you were like, oh my God. And so it was brilliant. The design was very, very clever, even though you couldn't really see clouds. It was actually very good in that aspect. And it was just completely different, I think, for swimmers. And I know this sounds so weird, because like we're got such a presence in other sports in this country, like football. All of our football teams have like packed out stadiums. Do you know what I mean? So we are a sporty nation, I think, as a whole. We do pack things out, but this was the first time ever like that I had experienced anything on this scale in my country. Do you know what I mean? So it was just really daunting, actually, because you go to other countries and all you hear is USA, USA. That's all you hear for the whole entire thing. And because there's such a swimming nation out there, like obviously with Michael Phelps, all their past Olympians, it's predominantly just USA the whole time. Like the whole, and no matter where you go in the world, it is predominantly USA. Whereas this was the first time it wasn't that. And do you know what? The crowd were amazing in London. They clapped everyone, like even those like Eric the Eel moments. Do you know what I mean? The first people in those heats, they clapped everyone. They cheered every single athlete, no matter whether they had won or not. They were such a warm, amazing crowd. The volunteers, like the games makers were fantastic. Everywhere you walked, good luck, you okay? Can I help you with anything? Like it was just such a friendly, brilliant environment. It was great.
And how was it then coming from that and then going on the big tour around London with the open top bus? How was that?
Oh God, that was always mad. I always find them things like the most bizarre
They're
things.
crazy, aren't they?
Bizarre things, not my comfort zone at all. Like I literally want to get in the front of the bus and just hide because I'm so uncomfortable.
Big hat on.
Yeah, and almost everyone always has to drag me like, Becky, you need to, like I always get my mum and dad in my ear, Becky, you need to wave, Becky, you need to do this. And I'm like, I just want to retreat. Like I'm not an extrovert sort of person like that. So I'm always a bit like, so I'm like, hi, and I'm always just a bit like, I never know what to do. I just feel awkward. I don't feel like it comes natural to me to be that person that's like with the crowds and getting them going. Really? Whereas I'm just like, hey, you okay? Yeah, you can have a photo. I'm like, yeah. It's awkward.
Now, most importantly, I was hoping you'd be wearing all of your medals today. Slightly disappointed.
Don't wear them out and about. Like Superman.
I would. So where have you got them? All of them? Have you given any to your parents, or what have you done with them?
For years and years and years, my parents would have two, and then I would have two. Mainly as well, because I treat them a bit like the royal family. Like always split them up in case I ever lose them. So I always did that.
That's a good idea.
And my mum and dad, my mum and dad are the proudest people ever. And we always joke that my dad used to wear, he's now retired, but we always used to joke my dad used to wear them under his suit. Like he literally, if you walk past him on the street, my daughters want to live at now. You're like, Dad, shut up. Like, he's the proudest man ever. Bless him. He's the biggest sports fan, and he got 3 girls. So he was really disappointed. He was like, wanted a boy to go to the football with and go to all these, like, Formula One and all these sports with. And then he got us 3 girls that were like, no, we don't want to go to the football, Dad. But then with me, he kind of was like, oh my God, a sport. And he loved it. And my parents travelled the world with me.
Did they? So were they up with you doing the 5 a.m. training?
Everything. And they weren't pushy.
God,
like,
really?
They were not those pushy parents. Christ, I see enough of pushy parents. My parents were not that. My mum was always so funny. Whenever she used to take me training, if the parents got a bit much, she was like, I'm in the car. Like, she'd text me going, I'm waiting in the car, I can't deal with them. Like, she's just, other parents were there with stopwatches, like having a go,
really?
Like hanging over the side of the pool, all that. Whereas my mum and dad were like, nah, we're going to go get a coffee. We'll be here when you need us. Like, my mum never really spoke to me about like times or anything. She was just like, you okay? Like, what happened today then? Any goss? Like, my mum was just more like, am I okay? She was more just like, she wanted to make sure I was still like being a teenager.
So they really kept you down to grounded and really down, because you're very well known for being extremely approachable and really down to earth. That's one of your the beautiful things about you, that you're so well known for that. And is that, do you think, come from
always my
them
family
keeping you grounded?
They would never ever let me get anything other than that. They'd totally call me out on it. They'd be like, absolutely not. They would just be like, what the heck are you doing?
Really?
Like, completely call me out and stuff. I mean, the first thing for my 400 in Beijing, I phoned my mum and dad obviously straight away after the podium, and my sisters, and everyone was on speakerphone. And this is how my family are. My sister, everyone was around the phone because it was on speaker. And the first thing my sister said was, bloody hell, mate, you could have brushed your hair. It looked awful on the podium. I was like, oh my God. I was like, don't say that. So honestly, my sisters just would
Sibling love, you've got to love it.
They would never let me get away with anything that. No, well done, no, nothing. Just, you could have brushed your hair. I was like, I didn't have a brush. I didn't prepare that I was going to be on the podium or winning a gold medal. I was like, I didn't prepare for any of that. I just thought I'd go to the swim down pool. I'd then like have a shower after. Like, I never expected to go. You literally get ushered to the podium straight away. Do you? You can't go back to your bag. You can't go back to anything. So like, all I kept wanting to do was find a hairbrush, and you'd think they would keep it in the room for the girls to quickly brush their hair. No, nothing. I was like, oh God, just let me brush my hair.
Oh my goodness. So when you then got the notification that you'd got the OBE, how did that go down at home?
Do you know what? It was one of the most bizarre things
Was
because you
it?
get this like amazing envelope, like straight away because the stamp on the envelope.
Did you have any inkling that this was coming or not?
To be fair, they release it to the press and stuff like that. So I kind of, obviously we knew, etc. Obviously I didn't know. I don't really fully know the process. I think you have to nominate somebody.
Right, okay.
So I don't know who nominated me. I wish I did. I'd love to thank them. If it was anyone that's listening, please let me know because I'd love to say thank you. But obviously somebody has to nominate you, which I didn't realise as well. I just thought they chose it. But no, apparently it has to be some sort of nomination. And it was just the most bizarre thing because I was just like, why am I getting it? Like I kind of felt as well because I was still in my career at the time. I was just like, kind of just thought, surely I should finish my career. I thought it was something that you get.
Once you'd retired kind of thing. Right, okay.
As an accolade. So I was just a bit like, oh my gosh, kind of couldn't really believe it. And then I did ask my mum because obviously I was only 19 at the time. I was like, what's this mean? I was like, she was like, I don't think it means anything. I think it's just like a huge honour because I was like, oh my God, I get to go like in Buckingham Palace and like get to sleep in a bedroom or something.
Does that happen? I'm disappointed.
I know. And that was just me being 19, not understanding obviously the gravitas of obviously getting it. But do you know what? It was such a brilliant day. Like my mum and dad got to come.
Oh, and what did you wear?
I wore like a green dress that I got slated for after.
Rude.
But still, I loved it. And I was so panicked about meeting the Queen. And I was actually young, because obviously you don't just go with sports people.
There's all sorts,
So I went to the day and I was the youngest there by about 50 years. The youngest there. And you go into this room before where everyone's together before they like take everyone down. And I was meeting all these people and they had done insane things. Like I'm talking, they had invented something or they had like raised millions for charity or they had cured some disease. Like these people were phenomenal that I was meeting. And I just was having this like imposter syndrome in the room going, what the frick am I doing here when all these incredible people are there and I'm talking to them about their lives. People have been like done stuff for their country and I'm just there going, I've only just won medals. Like it was I felt uncomfortable. I was like, this is not where I should belong with these people because they're amazing. But it was a brilliant day and that's what's so great about those times is the fact that I met some incredible people, like hearing stories of people. I'd never have got to been in the room with people like that. Like
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just insane.
And what did Her Majesty say to you?
Oh, honestly, it was just, they obviously whisper in their ears and tell them like who's coming up next and whatever. But like that whole royal family are really sporty. Like they absolutely love their sport. I think William played water polo when he was growing up. So they kind of really interested in swimming, etc. So she was just kind of like, how was the games for you? Like, I absolutely love watching the swimming. You did everyone so proud. Like, what was your favourite thing? And like, just ask, I think they asked you like 2 or 3 questions, but it was just amazing. I could genuinely tell she was really genuinely passionate about it. And I was like, it was just so lovely. And I was just like, didn't want to wash or anything. I was like, the Queen's touched me.
Oh, that's amazing. And obviously you've still got all of those memories that you are going to stay with you forever.
Oh, yeah.
But you then obviously retired from swimming and your life changed. You decided to go in a slightly different way and still staying within swimming. So talk to me about how, first of all, how having kids has changed your life in terms of not having to get up for your 5 a.m. trainings. Obviously you're now getting up at 5 a.m. for kids, which is different. Do you manage to fit any fitness into your days now with kids, or is it just a bit like the rest of us, you do it when you can? Or
do you know what?
How has life changed for you?
My life massively changed with kids. I have never been that like maternal person. Yeah. Now I'm the complete mum of every group.
Are you?
I'm just like the mum. I'm always the mum on a night out that keeps everyone's keys and like gets them in a taxi on the way. Like I'm such that mum now, which is so weird. I think my sisters were all very maternal growing up and they always wanted kids. Whereas I think swimming, I never really thought about having kids because of swimming. So it was kind of one of those, I was really scared about being a mum. I was like, everyone assumed I was going to be the bad cop parent. Now, there's always a good cop and a bad cop. Everyone assumed I was going to be the bad cop parent, etc. And I turned out to be the biggest softie. And I'm the biggest, like, I'm always good cop. And it's just, I always get told I'm too soft for the kids.
Really?
And it's just completely changed who I am, which is in some ways is so lovely because you go from being an athlete, you are very selfish. Like, there's no hiding it.
But you have have to be, don't you? Because otherwise you're not going to be successful.
No, but you are extremely selfish. Like, even with my family, everything was around me, which wasn't fair on my sisters. It wasn't fair all the time, like that I got that. But that was the only way to do it, is to be that kind of selfish person. And then when you have kids and you have to be the least selfish person possible, you go from being the top to right the bottom of the list. And that's fine with me, and putting the kids first 100%. And I've loved that transition, and I've loved that. With fitness, I tried to keep like stuff. At first, I took 6 months off and I was like, I never want to see a pool again.
Yeah.
But after that, I still love swimming.
Do you?
I love to go swimming.
But tell me what happens. You walk onto poolside for a swim. Do people kind of do a double take and do that?
No,
what happens? Really?
Not at all. I think the thing is, people think that swimming pools are these places where they're, and it is, as a woman, it is hard to put a costume on.
It really is, yeah.
It's very daunting. I don't like it. People think I like being in a costume. I do not. I tend to walk on with a towel.
Do you get into the water as quickly as you can? You like drop the towel, jump in, because that's what I am.
take my towel poolside. I like shuffle on poolside. I drop it, run in.
Yeah.
I'm like, and no one's looking at you. Nobody is looking at you at a swimming pool, but you... it's a very self-conscious thing that it's like more for me that I do that. But it's one of those that when you go to the swimming pool, everyone's doing their own thing. Either people are with their kids and watching their kids, or people are having a swim and their head's in the water. Yeah. So nobody looks at you. So nobody's ever done that with me. I've had one occasion where a guy stopped me and went, "Oh, you're quite good at swimming. You should join a club." Like, cheers.
Thanks.
Done that. He didn't obviously recognise me. I think in a hat and goggles as well, you don't. But the rest of the time, do you know what? Everyone's just so lovely at swimming pools. They're community people, aren't they? They
really are.
They go swimming every day or every week. It's like, it's just a fun thing that they're either with their mates, they're with their family, or they're going for a swim. It's not a scary environment.
Yeah. And are your kids into swimming, or...
Yeah,
not
so
really?
They both have lessons.
Right.
My daughter, bless her, she's never going to be a swimmer. She has no desire. She's like, "Mummy, I only go swimming because of you." And like, I've said to her very clearly, you are not stopping your lessons until you can swim all 4 strokes and 25 metres unaided.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah, it's a given, isn't it? Absolutely.
It's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Like, and she needs to be confident enough, because a lot of parents say to me, "Why do they need to be able to do butterfly?" And I'm like, because if she can do butterfly, she can do anything. Like, that is the difference.
Yeah.
Because if she ever fell in with her clothes on, with her shoes on, with a really strong current, she's going to be fine. If she could do butterfly, she could do anything. Yeah. And I'm like, people kind of don't necessarily realise that. They think, "Oh yeah, my kids can swim, they can float." And I'm like, that is not enough.
No.
Like, shoes, clothes, current, cold, panic, it's not enough. So like, I've laid that out to my daughter, and she was like, fine. She was like, "Okay, mummy, but then I don't want to do it as a job." And I went, "That's fine." I was like, "You don't have to do it as a job." And that's absolutely fine. My little boy loves the water. Obviously, he's only 2, but he loves it. He's got no fear. He's almost the other way, where he's too confident.
Really?
We're terrified because he just runs and jumps, and we have to constantly go and ship it. Like, he's a nightmare. He's just too confident.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
And then, so you've started the Becky Adlington Swim Stars. How did that come about? Did you kind of think of your experience as a kid swimming, or was it just your sort of general knowledge of thinking about how swimming is taught and accepted in this country, or how did that come about with you?
Do you know what? For me, I had a brilliant swimming experience when I was a kid. Nothing traumatic happened. I had a brilliant swimming teacher. Her name was Linda, and I still remember her to this day. Like,
shout out to Linda.
Linda was ace. She was the best swimming teacher. Came in really positive, really happy, no nonsense, great teacher. So I didn't have any of that. I had a really great learn. So don't get me wrong, it was still one of those experiences where you had to walk through the manky foot bath.
That's not nice, is it?
No, black brick in the pool, swimming in your pyjamas. And it was, my mum always put me in the thickest flannel pyjamas ever. Not like the thin cotton ones or like the shorts. It was always the thickest flannel pyjamas. Yeah. You're like, "Oh God, thanks, Mum." So I had a great learn to swim experience. I think for me, it was a case of, from Beijing to London, I'd spent 4 years really trying to promote the sport, really trying to make people see it as a life skill. I think the thing when you go to Australia and other countries, they only talk about swimming predominantly first as a life skill. Everything is safety based. Everything is taught from the day dot they're in school as a safety element, because they're exposed to so much water.
Yeah.
Whereas for us in this country, we only see it as a sport. And I'm like, that's wrong, because it's the only sport that is a life skill. It's the only sport that will save your life. And you'll use it forever as well. Like, when I talk to parents and they're like, "Oh, £11 is really expensive to learn how to swim." And I'm like, it's not. if you go to McDonald's, you will spend more on a meal for a family of 4 than you will on a swimming lesson. And I'm like, it's fundamental. And it's like riding a bike. Once you know how to swim, you've got it.
For life, haven't you? Exactly.
You will swim for 90 years. If you live a full life, you will swim from the minute you're born to the minute, I know 92-year-olds that come to our local pool, they love it. And it's so good for you that I'm like, it's so worth that spend for me. But I think I spent those 4 years promoting other people's, and actually I was kind of thinking, God, do I need to do stuff in government to try and take them to take this serious? And I kind of wasn't really sure what direction to go in. And then it got to the point where I was like, hold on, I need to stop asking other people to do stuff if I'm not taking that responsibility of doing something about it myself. So kind of setting up that, and we've got 3 learn to swim businesses under one umbrella, which I know is confusing because why have you got 3 that do essentially the same thing, but they're all in different areas. And I think for me, I'm just so passionate about getting children into water. If they go on to do the Olympics, brilliant. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's totally brilliant, but that's not what our programme's about. I just want every child to A, have the opportunity to learn how to swim, not pools closing up and down the country. And B, I want them to just learn this life skill. And if they can do it in a fun, great way where they're not traumatised and they have a great experience, they'll use it forever.
That's amazing.
That's all I want.
That's amazing. So, obviously, you work with Everyone Active, which we are honoured to have you working with us. Talk to me a little bit about the relationship you have with us and why you got involved with Everyone Active.
Do you know what? I've worked with Everyone Active for years. Yay! I'm almost like the dinosaur in the corner now. They're probably like, gosh, well, she'd do one. Let's get another Olympian in, a more recent one. But do you know what? From day dot, I mean, started doing some of the events with them, the Oceans of Fun sorts of events. We've done all sorts of wacky things, different pool openings, different events, and they've just been the best. And obviously working on their schools, learn to swim. So
that's something that's obviously very close to your heart because working with schools and things.
Yeah, so all the national curriculum lessons, because I think there's always this debate, isn't it? Is swimming the parents' responsibility or school's responsibility? And yes, it's part of obviously the national curriculum, but it's not measured on Ofsted. So some certain pools, if they've not got certain schools, if they've not got a pool near them, how can they prioritise it? They can't. They're not going to drive 20 miles to a pool. But it's great for that. The pools are offering national curriculum lessons in the day that actually eases that. And then if the parents do take them, brilliant. It's all bases covered. I think it should always be both. I think it should be parents and schools that assist in that. So obviously working with Everyone Active, I've been into a number of different schools. We've done hat competitions, we've done galas, we've done all sorts over the years, which has just been absolutely amazing to meet all these school kids as well, because actually a lot of these school kids, if they don't go swimming outside, this is their only experience. So to make it a memorable one, make it a good one, make it so that they at least know about the sport, that they love it, that it is something they can do when they're older, that's brilliant.
That's amazing. We're so excited that you're still on board with us after all these years, by the way.
You can't get rid of me.
Don't go. And you're going to an event this afternoon as well, aren't you? Which is exciting. Yes. It's a very exciting event this afternoon. So you're going to go and give an award out to one of our teachers, aren't you?
Yeah, so I've done it quite a few times. Obviously, you guys, like in any Learn to Swim business, the teachers are the absolute fundamental, most important people in any Learn to Swim business. So I love doing your teacher awards because they're always so great. I've met so many of your teachers and I just love it because these are the guys that are there every single day. They've got such personal connections with the kids as well, and they make it. And for me, I still remember Linda, and I'm 34 years of age, and actually for these kids as well, they will remember these teachers as well
for the rest of their exactly.
And it's so important that they have that good experience and that they have that relationship with them, because it is a fundamental life skill. It's not something that you learn in a couple of weeks. You're not just going to do it for 2 weeks and you can swim. So they are with them for a year, 2 years while they're learning, and they see them come on so much, and it is so lovely to see their relationship with the kids.
Oh, that's so nice. And then moving on from the work you do with us, obviously you've got another whole media side of your career. You've been on all sorts of celebrity not game shows, but celebrity events and things like that. What was your favourite? I'm a Celeb. What was your favourite?
I loved I'm a Celeb.
Did you?
I did really, really love I'm a Celeb.
did you know what you were going in? Had you watched the show before you went on it?
I had watched it. Like, I kind of was more petrified about, like, oh God, what they're going to make you do. I think it's obviously changed now. I did it like 10 years ago. So it's really kind of massively changed how it is now. For me, I was really scared about the editing process of the show. I think that was always, at the end of the day, you kind of break it down like this. They film you 24/7. The show is only an hour long.
Yep.
Within that, you've got breaks. So take it down to 45 minutes. Then you take off Ant and Dec's bit and the trial. You're only down to 25 minutes of footage a day, and yet they film you for 24.
Yeah.
And so much happens. So of course they have to edit it. And I totally see why, but they do edit you to look a certain way.
Of course.
Like, and even in my series, they edited something that was simply didn't happen. But you know what? It didn't dampen my experience, because I'm like, do you know what? I had the best experience. I know what happened. All of us 11 that were in camp know what happened, and we've got so much love for each other. That group of people.
Are you still in touch with some of them now?
Some of them, still in touch. And it's one of those that, like, it does bond you. You've been through something together, and you'll never ever forget that. And it is so lovely that we kind of, even now, if I see somebody at an event or whatever, I'm like, hiya, how are you?
Oh, how nice.
It's just really lovely that we still have that, like, fond memories of each other.
And what other sorts of things have you taken, sort of the media side of things in your career? How have you moved into that side of things a bit more? You're obviously doing pundit stuff and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so kind of worked with the BBC pretty much straight after my career. So in the 2013, so the year after the Olympics, I did the World Championships, and then kind of just stayed with them ever since. Again, they can't get rid of me, but I absolutely love it, because me and Mark are brilliant friends anyway. So Mark Foster.
That really comes across. So I think when you're presenting and stuff, I think you can see.
Oh God, we're such close mates anyway. We have such a ball that, like, we genuinely are just like two mates having a laugh together, and it's just brilliant. And we've obviously worked with a number of different presenters, but that's been brilliant as well, because I've always learnt something from them. They all have very different styles, from Gabby Logan to Claire Bolden to Helen Skelton. They're all very, very different, but it's been great to work with so many different people. And I genuinely am just a swimming fan. Like, I love the Olympic Games. Like, I just absolutely love them. I'm such a fan anyway, that I just feel like what an amazing opportunity that I'd be watching them anyway at home.
Yeah.
The fact that I get to watch it and then talk about it, which I would talk my husband's ear off about it anyway. So I may as well do it with Mark, who's my work husband. We may as well, like, talk about it on telly. So I absolutely love it.
And do you still feel like you have imposter syndrome even when you're doing that kind of thing, or do you feel a bit more in your comfort zone? Or
I'm in my comfort zone in there, because it's just like three of you that are in there. It's literally just myself, Mark, and then the presenter. So it's absolutely fine, because you're just having a chat, and then we go out for dinner afterwards. So it's lovely.
Days.
It is lovely. People are always like, do you miss swimming? And I'm like, no, I now get my hair and makeup done, and I get to sit with my mates having a chat, and we get to go out for dinner. It's great.
What do you miss about swimming? Is it the camaraderie, do you think, or what is it you miss about swimming?
Do you know what? I miss being part of something that. I definitely miss being fit, because now I get out of breath just walking up the stairs. So I'm definitely not in any sort of shape. But for me, like, the people, I used to always say the people, but actually I've stayed in touch with all the people that I wanted to.
Right.
So, like, I don't miss the people, because I see the people all the time. Like, Joe's still my best friend. Like, we're still really close. We've got a girls' weekend coming up in a few weeks where it's all of the girls from who I swam with. We still do that every year.
Wow, do you?
I'm still really close to them, so I don't miss that. But I think definitely just being part of something, like putting on that Team GB kit, it's powerful.
It must be such an honour and just amazing feeling.
Oh, you're so patriotic. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to represent the country.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like amazing.
But you don't miss the 5 a.m. trainings. You don't miss the chlorine minging hair.
Do you know what? I actually like the smell of chlorine. So it doesn't actually bother me at all. But yeah, that sort of stuff. It's like, it's just when you were training, and because we were pushing our bodies to the limit every day, you're constantly in pain. You're constantly,
really?
I ache. Everything hurts, whereas it's nice now. I get up in the morning and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel good. Like, it's really nice that you don't have that feeling, but at the same time now I'm massively unfit. So
if you were to go and do some exercise and it wasn't swimming, what would you say? What would be your go-to thing to go to? Do you think would you be a gym girl, or would you be group exercise or badminton?
Classes, always classes.
Are
if I
you?
go to the gym,
Please come to my class.
This is what I do when I go in the gym. I'm like, oh yeah, fill my bottle up. Oh yeah, I might have a little stretch. Oh yeah, I watch my phone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I might just do an ear for 10 minutes. Then I don't do anything.
Yeah.
I don't do anything at the gym. I hate going to the gym because I'm just like, I just walk around. I'm just not motivated. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Whereas actually, I love classes.
Do you?
I just love it. I think you just get a buzz from being with other people. You get to have a laugh.
Yeah.
I get an instructor telling me what to do. I'm like, that's what I want. Just
You can just switch off.
Oh, God,
Have you got a favourite class that you go to, or do you like most things?
I like most things.
Do
I
you?
definitely prefer like more the hit ones.
Do you?
Like
The
short and
cardio
sharp. I
yeah.
don't want to be in there for an hour and a half. I don't know.
Well, who's got time when you've got kids anyway? You want to be in there, do it, get out again, don't you?
Exactly. I like the ones that are good fun. I don't like it when it's like heavy dance music and intense. I'm like, oh no. Like, let's just have a bit of a laugh, shall we? And everyone's being dead competitive with each other. I'm just like, oh no, I'll stick with my 2K dumbbells, thanks. Like,
Are you at the back or the front of the class usually?
oh, back. Yeah, back. And I'm just dead chilled. I'm like, don't notice me. Just like stick in my own little world.
Amazing. Okay, that's all we've got time for.
Oh, it's gone so quickly.
I know. Thank you so much for your time today, and more importantly, everything you do with Everyone Active. We are so thrilled and honoured that you continue to work with us. So thank you for everything you do for us.
No problem. You're not getting rid of me.
That's what we like to hear. I hope it continues for many years. So that's all from episode 1 of season 2, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like, drop us a comment, or if you want us to send us an email, it's podcast@everyoneactive.com. From myself, Michelle Laurie, and the amazing legend that is Becky Adlington, OBE, multi-Olympic medal winning general legend and good all-round person. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.